All right, hey, it's Rob, and I'm back here from Base Camp ATL, and just thought I would share my origin story, my humble beginnings in the world of film and TV. Everyone's got a story, everyone gets into it somehow, and this is the way that I did. Before we start, I want to say this video is brought to you by vitamin water. Yes, indeed, vitamin water. None of the sugar, all of the flavor, now available in blue. And I'd show you that, but I drank all those. Anyway, and also we've got Diego here, who's causing us a bunch of trouble right now, of course, because we're trying to record a video. Diego, hey, go get your ball. You see your ball? You see your ball? Go get your ball. Go get your ball. Go get that ball. No, doesn't want the ball. Just wants to bark during my video. All right, so yeah. As I mentioned in the other video, I've always messed around with sound equipment, and I'm a production sound mixer and boom operator here in Atlanta, have been for a long time. My real experience started in high school when I got involved in the school radio station. We got a grant from the cable company that had just come to town to hook us all up with cable TV, Continental Cablevision. I'm sure they're not around. But anyway, they gave us 10 grand to start up a radio station. There already was a radio station, but we got to pretty much tear everything out and start again. So we got to make a list of equipment we would need for the radio station. We had a professional advisor who was a DJ on one of the local stations. He was also a graduate of the school, so they hired him on to run the station and get everything organized and figure out how many songs he needed to play in an hour, what the format would be, where to put the public service announcements, and who the staff would be, all that kind of stuff. So I was the music director, and then I was a station manager in my senior year, also a disc jockey. And that kind of got me interested in production because we had to do a lot of recording to the reel-to-reel, doing promotions for the station and that kind of stuff. And I learned how to edit tape and how to, record things properly and splice things together, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, got me interested. I continued to do that in college. And then in college, I majored in music production and engineering at the Berklee College of Music. So I certainly had a direction that I wanted to go in. Moved to LA soon after that and worked in studios for a few years. I wasn't really getting very far. I was a runner. I was, occasionally in the studio setting up microphones and that kind of stuff. But my main gig was picking up lunch for people, and got real old after 3 years of doing that or so. I started working as a freelance engineer after that for a couple local studios. And quickly found out that even though I love music, I'm a lifelong musician. Working in a studio can be a real drag, especially if you don't like the band and you're stuck there listening, to someone slam on a snare drum over and over again for 8 hours until 4 o'clock in the morning. So I started to get interested in maybe what other things you could do as a sound engineer. And back then, still now, there's Variety and the Hollywood Reporter. Of course, this is pre-internet, so you would list different productions and things like that, addresses, how to get a hold of them, and I just started sending out resumes. I landed a gig. The first one was actually a movie called Killing Zoe that Quentin Tarantino had written with his buddy. It's a French caper movie. They rob a bank. Supposed to be in Paris, but we robbed the bank in Skid Row in Los Angeles. It was a pretty abusive situation. I mean, it wasn't a bad gig or whatever. I was just an office PA sitting around copying scripts, answering phones, and again, doing runs, making deliveries, that kind of stuff. My pay was $100 a week for a 6-day week. So I'd work Monday through Saturday. I don't remember the hours being crazy, but we certainly were there 7 in the morning till, who knows, 5, 6, maybe 7 or whatever, maybe 12-hour day. And at the end of every week, I got $100. So it was pretty pathetic. Towards the end of that project, Quentin actually came in and said, hey, we need production assistants for this new feature that I'm directing called Pulp Fiction, and it paid $300 a week. And by that point, I was so broke and in debt, and I said I just couldn't do it. So I ended up working on another Quentin-related project, which was Natural Born Killers. Oliver Stone directed that, and I was an office PA for that. Just, well, I didn't, unbeknownst to me, for a couple weeks, because my job had already been promised to his nephew, who was still in college. So they, I didn't know, but they hired me, and then 2 weeks later, there I was out on the street again. I think that paid, $450 a week or something or other. So it was a real, improvement for where I'd been before. After that, I met somebody. I was a PA on an NBC show called Hearts of the West with Bo Bridges and Lloyd Bridges, and there I was actually on the set. So I wasn't stuck in an office anymore. And since I was already well versed in sound and mixing and how to use the gear and all that kind of stuff, I started to just hang out with the sound mixer and the boom operator and just either watch what they were doing, or when I had a second, ask a few questions or hang out and get some quickie instruction on what the Nagra does, how it works, that kind of stuff. Back then it was the reel-to-reel Nagra recorder, way before file-based recording. And then after that, I moved into working as a boom operator myself. Back then, boom operator was kind of the entry-level position. We didn't have a lot of wireless mics. Today, they have what's called a utility sound technician, and I went over this in my other video. But anyway, I got in working as a boom operator on some low-budget movies and some other things like Pauly Shore's Biodome. Worked with a female sound mixer, maybe one of the only ones, if not the only one in Los Angeles at the time. She's not around anymore. I mean, she's not dead. She just doesn't do sound anymore. But that's how I got in, doing these just crappy, low-budget action movies. Once in a while, I'll go to the grocery store and I'll see one of the movies I boomed in like a pack of, 20 action movies crammed on one DVD. And those are the kind of things that I did. From there, I just continued to, work as a boom operator and slowly started to buy equipment and became a sound mixer. Back then, it wasn't like it is now. You really could get away with just owning a recorder and a couple mics. There wasn't all the extra additional stuff we need now and the multiple, iterations of equipment that you need to have at your disposal. So I ended up being a sound mixer again, just reaching out to people from the Hollywood Reporter and Variety Magazine and whatever contacts I might have or whatever. I think maybe I had a cell phone by then. But I ended up mixing maybe 20 or 30 indie movies, little, 4 or 5 week films that people did on a shoestring budget. They got 10 credit cards and loaded them up. Of course, back then we were shooting on film. I went just to the point where digital cameras started coming out. I think the last couple things I did were on like the Canon XL1 or whatever. I just gotten really frustrated with it, and I just felt like I was doing the same thing over and over and over again. I really enjoyed it. I did it for years, and then I decided to move on and try a couple different things that I stuck with for a little while, but eventually found my way here to Atlanta and back into production sound mixing here. Do a lot of TV work as a boom operator and as a mixer, mainly as a mixer though. I do corporate work and smaller things, non-scripted things. I just did an episode of Modern Marvels for the History Channel, so shows like that where there's no particular script, they're more documentary style, that kind of thing. I try to stay towards the less demanding end of the business. There are a lot of people out there with $150,000 worth of equipment, and I'm not trying to compete with them. I'm happy to be their boom operator, but I've got just a little setup that takes care of my needs, and I have been fortunate to stay pretty busy with this, except maybe for this week, which is why I'm making a couple videos. Anyway, so rolling into the 10-minute mark again, and I will jump out there. But hey, thanks for checking out my backstory. Everyone's got one. Everyone finds a way into this industry who is interested in doing it. Again, I think you really need to search your soul and decide, what you want to get into to begin with, and not waste a bunch of time trying out various departments and things like that. PAing is a great way to get in, as long as, like I said, you have an end goal. Nobody wants to be a professional PA. Somebody told me a long time ago, you don't want to be the great PA, because if you're really good at being a PA, then they don't want you to be anything else. They're going to call you all the time to PA because you do a really good job. So I was an okay PA, I think I quickly wanted to move out of that into something else, which I did. All right, and like I said, thanks for listening to me go on and on here, and we'll see you at the movies.